Earlier today, a ruling in favor of the Archdiocese of New York and several Catholic school parents in a lawsuit filed to compel the New York City Department of Education to live up to its legal requirement to provide COVID-19 testing for its students as required by New York state law. And joining me now on Skype to talk more about the case and its implications is Michael Deegan, Superintendent of Schools for the Archdiocese of New York. Michael, welcome. This lawsuit was seeking immediate relief. Good to have you here. This lawsuit was seeking immediate relief. Bring us up to speed on the judge's ruling and what it means for students and access to COVID-19 testing.
Mark, thanks for having me, and thank you for asking this very, very important question. Literally within the last hour and a half, a judge in Richmond County, that is Staten Island, New York, rendered a decision that compels New York City to provide COVID testing to all Catholic school students. Up until now, the city had refused to provide the testing which we need to remain open. The Archdiocese has committed to keeping our schools open and safe, and the only way to do that in designated areas is to provide the testing. Our position was the city has an obligation to provide that testing, and now the judge has agreed with us, and now we need to move forward and to establish what those testing protocols will be, because the safest place for a child is in school, particularly a Catholic school in New York.
Well, some good news there. And as cases of COVID-19 rise there in New York City and schools within the Archdiocese remain open, let's talk more about the urgent need for this access to testing to protect students. And again, why was it so important to bring this suit?
Well, I think it was important because this is a religious liberty and religious freedom issue. Our children, whose parents pay taxes, are entitled to parental choice and allowing their children to go to a Catholic school, and should not be discriminated against by having the city withhold essential testing to ensure the health and safety of our children. It is immoral for the city to withhold this in the middle of a pandemic. So very good news that we received today, that we will be able to have our schools remain open. The testing is rigorous and it is very, very complicated, but we're committed to making sure that we comply with the state regulations and get the city to do the testing that is so critical for us to remain open.
Tell us, how many students are served by Catholic schools in the Archdiocese of New York, and what measures have already been put in place to protect their health throughout this pandemic?
So, Mark, we have approximately 65,000 children. Our school system goes from Staten Island, which is one of the 3 boroughs in the city, all the way up to almost Albany. So we have a very, very large number of schools, about 180 schools, 65,000 children. And back in the summertime, we established a Catholic school reopening plan, which was submitted to the state health department, approved by the health department, so that we opened all of our Catholic schools on time, in person, and up until now, we have maintained very, very rigorous procedures and protocols to ensure the health and safety of our students. In fact, the number of positive cases in our entire Catholic school system is 0.003, very, very small number. All of those cases, by the way, emanated from outside the school system, families going to parties and athletic events.
Well, Michael Deegan, Superintendent of Schools for the Archdiocese of New York, with some good news. Thank you for joining us here.
Thank you for having me, Mark.